And so I was raised around boxing and that kind of stuff as a kid. You know, I didn't know anything about judo, you know, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But it was a matter of just punch a guy in the nose or the stomach and it was over. Because people weren't like in the movies, the bad, deadly fighters.
Yes.
These are just ordinary people. They think they're going to be smart or they're giving you a hard time in school or something. And so all you got to do is whack the guy once and he cries and runs away. That's the end of the fight. It was like, and even in the Army, I had the same thing. I had to control myself because people would play around and they grab me and all of a sudden I got them laid out flat. They're doubled up and I know how to. Anyway, so this was this Japanese, the brother. I said, do you know judo? He says, what? I said, well, maybe I wasn't even pronouncing it right. Judo, ju-jitsu, whatever. And the family's looking at me and I'm asking this question. And of course my Japanese was very poor, you know. Next thing, I'm in the sky and I see the top of the ceiling and I'm going down. The whole family's looking at me. I'm laying down in all the faces. He says, that? Yeah, that. He probably threw me with a hip throw or some sort of thing, you know. And that was my first exposure. Then, when I was in the military government, you know, MacArthur, I didn't realize it, but they had, well, outlawed anything military because of the war. And judo, any martial art.
So even Aikido was outlawed, or?
Well, I guess so. When I was in the military government, I didn't have a directive, I didn't see one that addressed it specifically, but I'd heard. It's like rumor, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm a young kid. What do I know about all the fancy regulations, you know? And so, but anyways, I worked with the police, and I found out the assistant police chief was a judo champion. I still really didn't know what judo was, to be honest with you. It's still, you know. And so I said, I'll tell you what, how about making a judo school? I didn't even know the word dojo, okay? And I authorized it. I had guts. I don't care what MacArthur says. You can do it. And I authorized it. And they were going to start giving us judo classes. Before I could begin, I'm ready. My number comes up to go home. See, in World War II, when you were in the service, you weren't like for 2 years, 4 years. Because it was a war. We didn't know when the war was going to happen. Hey, don't worry about me. It was, so you were in for the duration. So for every month, you got a point. So when the war was over, they say everybody with 50 points can leave. You know. Well, if you had 50 points, it meant you were overseas in combat already. Because you get some extra points for that. And then every so often they announced I went home. And so I never really got to practice. So I really wanted to go back to Japan. And for some personal reasons. And anyways, when I graduated, I went to school on the GI Bill. In 1950, I graduated. And I came back in 46. So there was a want ad for auditors in Japan. I was majoring in accounting. And they took 2 people from LA. And one reason was I spoke Japanese to some degree. And they always have a problem hiring people for overseas. You know, because what happens is they have to give security clearance, all kinds of stuff. And then the people think, I don't know if I want to go there in a foreign country. So they chicken out. So they spend all this time trying to hire a guy, and he chickens out. Because he doesn't know the country, and doesn't feel, you know, the family and everything. So here's a guy that really wants to go. So, boom, they got me. And after a year, I decided, you know, I want to do something Japanese.
Hello.
It's my wife, Joan. It's Alex. My grandfather. He was in the army there.
Okay.
He drowned his lieutenant, so he had to come to America.
That's
how old martial arts got.
Isn't it funny? You know, that's the same story I always hear. You know.
Yeah, he was always telling me about the soldiers fighting, fist fights when I was a kid. I was the oldest in my family. So he'd sit me on his lap and tell me all about Russia, fist fights in the bars, you know, that kind of stuff, see. So,
Where do you live?
so anyways, but the bottom line was I got into judo. My tailor says, you should do judo. And here I was just, having a good time, drinking, this and that, running around. So I went down to Kodokan and I saw an old teacher throwing a young guy around. I said, I can do that.
I have to say, I like the valley.
Now, after I was in judo for a while, and I became fairly good at it, I advanced very fast. First year I was a black belt. Second year, second degree black belt. Third year, third. I just was really, I trained very hard. This was like every day.
Okay.
And then before I went to bed, I spent an hour doing drills. So, to build up certain muscles. There's no time in the dojo to do that. I mean, if you want to waste your time, you can do it there. But there, the dojo was just working out hard. Free practice. And so anyways, I ended up writing some books. And then I decided, and this is what is confusing to me. I see all these martial arts now, okay? One day I thought, I think I'd like to write a book about the history of the martial arts.
Sure.
And how they evolved from real fighting to sports, like judo, kendo, and that kind of thing. So I start reading books that I could find on the history of Japan. I even read their Holy Scripture. It was an English translation. That was tough to get through. This Kunjiki or something. It was with the Shinto religion. And then my main teacher, Kobayashi, he saw what I was doing, so he would introduce me to people in different martial arts. And I'll tell you, there was very little outside of judo. Karate was just growing. And Aikido, there wasn't much in that. The main thing I got exposed to was Tamiki Sensei, his Aikido. He was trying to make it a part of judo. He felt, because of the skills and the timing, that he was an amazing man. He was a very thin, wiry, strong guy. And his wrist here, these bones, they look like golf balls. You should see the size of them. He could grab you one hand like that, and you'll scream and fly through the air.
What happened to jiu-jitsu schools? They were underground. What happened?
No, they weren't. Well, there was. I couldn't find those. They weren't around. Well, there was very little, because what you had was dojos. So the dojos that were like machi dojos. For example, if I was a judo teacher, if I became 4th degree, I would study to be a honotsugi. That means like a chiropractor. Home setter means. And that's where I could earn a living. So I'd have my house and a dojo, and customers would come and I would massage them and do whatever, to make them feel better. And then I had the dojo, the machi dojo. The schools had dojos. Some of them, set it up, especially the college universities. And you have to remember, during the war, what was happening was, before the war, judo was growing to a degree, okay? During the peacetime. And kendo was, active, always. Of course, kendo had some side things, like the naginata, bojitsu, and yaijitsu with the sword, but it's very isolated pockets. First place, you can't have a group of people doing it. And the Japanese really didn't teach. They just did. And if you do it, or like in judo, you're a good student, your teacher says, okay, you want to learn Osotogari, go see Sensei so-and-so. It wasn't like you went into the dojo and there was a class. You got dressed in the corner. There wasn't even a dressing room. You took your clothes off, put your judo gi on, just did a little bit by yourself, okay? And then you went out and you practiced. Maybe you go with, maybe I'm out there and he's on the mat. So I work out with a kid. Let you throw me. Now I go try to find the tough guy. I feel good, okay? So that's, now the attitude about, you were asking me about attitude of the Japanese. The attitude was, the war is over. We don't want war, we're like friends. Two boxers, two fighters, shake hands. They thought it was wonderful that foreigners would do something Japanese. Because they felt they were stupid. They were behind times. See, their country closed the door too tight during the war. They didn't want English spoken, except for languages so you can fight Americans, all right? And like English signs that may say something in English, they make it Japanese, or Japanese, you know, and this samurai stuff, you know. But they were like, it's like an extremist. It's like religious extremists. And they were hard on their own soldiers. They were brutal. So they lost their spirit. That's why there was one of the common stories is that the Japanese soldiers, if they lose their leader, they're no good because they were just brutalized, their own training. That's why when they were captured foreigners, they were brutal. But that's the way they were treated. See? So here, the war's over, and when you talk to a Japanese, it could be a professor at a university or something, you say, you know, Japan is stupid, America is smart. That kind of thing. So now, here I'm an American, and I want to do something Japanese. They think that's the bridge of friendship. That I will go back and change the culture. Very positive. Now here in America, it was just the opposite. In Los Angeles, you had a Japanese community that they're ersatz Japanese. I mean, they were Japanese but not Japanese. It wasn't like Japan. Japan's a proud nation. They never lost a war, except that one. They wiped out the Russians when they went in Manchuria, you know. But you know, what were they? They were recruits from farmers. And they had better trained. Maybe some other guys were more disciplined and stuff. So it's like children against experienced soldiers. You know, when the Russians went in there. Of course, Russia has good stuff, but basically in wars, you know how it is. They grab a bunch of people, stick uniforms on them, and shove them, make them fight. So, anyways, they couldn't do enough to help me. Now they didn't, like say, go out of their way, but I could go to any dojo. I was welcome. I could walk up to any teacher or any top player and say, Sensei, please show me your favorite technique. I'd say, okay, let me show you how I really make it work. And that's how I learned what you might call the secrets of judo, to really how to make it work. See, in fact, one of the first books in judo called Kyohan Judo, published by the Kodokan in 1915. In there, the theory of contest, it starts out telling you the tricks, the techniques, they don't work unless you do certain things. The tricks themselves, you're not going to work against a competitor. So you have to know, you have to read the person. Just like self-defense. Someone's got a knife. I don't walk up to him and get my grip, okay? I have to read him, I have to pull back, maybe make him commit himself so I can do something. Okay? You got to read your opponent. You read him with your eyes partially, your feeling, intuition, and you can just take advantage of it. That's the thing. If you do that, you have a better chance to win against that. If I have a coach that says, go get your grip, you know, and drive the guy, what my coach is telling me is ignore the other guy that's fighting me and just go do my thing.
It's impossible.
See? So that's where we are with a lot of judo. Like you see in some judo matches, good players, they attack, they attack, they attack, they attack. And the guy isn't even falling down. So what is this attacking?
Because he's not looking at the person, he's just trying to do his thing.
Yes. Now we had, like the guy that's on the cover of my book, Sport of Judo, Ishibashi. We used to take bets how many seconds it would take for him to throw somebody. He could read you real fast. Boom, boom, and they explode. No, you trained. I mean, all those judo guys, let me tell you, they were powerful. Because they trained hard. They had terrific legs, stomach, shoulders, you know. They snap you, boom, you're off in the air, and they come in and they explode right in there and go for it, see. But the timing was good. They could read you. And this one book says, the secrets of judo are like your eyebrows. They're so close, but you can't see them. So I started, anyways, I was writing this book, and I was studying about Japan and the history from the gods and little stories, samurai stories and stuff. But I didn't find many. I did a film, one of my films is an old ju-jitsu school. And these old men, they showed me their techniques. They started with things with the hand, serving tea, throwing the tea in the face, and stabbing the guy. That kind of stuff. How to be sneaky, how to kill somebody, all right? Or they go to do it to you, how you avoid them and block them. Bang, hit him, do something, take his knife away, put it back. And so they showed me all these kind of techniques. It was a secret thing. I didn't realize it was a secret thing. Years later, this one man who studies all this, he went to Japan, he studied ju-jitsu, whatever, and one of his students got my DVD. He says, "That's so-and-so jiu-jitsu. Did you have to take a blood oath?" I said, "No, we drank sake." He says, "A blood oath? What blood oath?" I said, and they couldn't show me enough.
Sure.
When I'm watching my old film, I'm seeing these old men. They're kind of like, they work like old men. Then I realized it wasn't the age. We were drunk. We just had the party first before I took the movie. See, this one guy's trying to put the sword back in. He's going, "You can't get by the hole." This is funny. So that was sort of my exposure. I did at one base. We had a fella going to teach. He called it jiu-jitsu.